Welcome back, my dear listeners, to Voices of Fear. In many Asian cultures, the past is never truly gone. The spirits of those who came before us, the mistakes of our ancestors, and even the sins of our past lives may return to haunt us. Tonight, you'll hear two true stories of ordinary people who learned that no matter how far you run, the past always finds its way back. But before we begin, viewer discretion is advised. Some of what you are about to hear is deeply unsettling. If you're new here, subscribe to Voices of Fear and join us each week as we bring terrifying true encounters from across the world. And tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? In Asia, belief in karma and reincarnation runs deep. Life is seen not as a single path, but as a cycle: birth, death, rebirth. And with each return, the deeds of our past lives may linger like shadows. Some believe that sudden misfortune, unshakable hauntings, or encounters with restless ghosts are not accidents, but debts carried over from lifetimes before. Tonight's stories come from Thailand and Japan, two nations with rich spiritual traditions. Two tales where the living found themselves trapped in the unfinished business of souls long gone. And both remind us of a chilling truth. Sometimes we don't just inherit our family's sins, we inherit our own. Story 1, The Child Who Remembered Too Much. Our first story takes us to the mountains of northern Thailand in 2008. A small farming village where life was simple, quiet, and deeply rooted in Buddhist tradition. Families tilled their fields, monks walked the dusty roads each morning for alms, and the nights echoed with the chorus of crickets. It was here that a boy named Channon was born. By all accounts, he was like any other child, except for the words he began to speak as soon as he could form sentences. Instead of asking for toys or calling out to his parents, he spoke of another place, another family, another death. His mother remembered the first time he pointed at her and said quietly, "You are not my real mother. My other mother is waiting for me." At first, the family laughed nervously, dismissing it as childish imagination. Rural children often grew up on ghost stories, and in Thailand, tales of reincarnation were not uncommon. But the words didn't stop. Channon would describe streets he had never walked, houses and towns he had never seen, and sometimes, when he was very quiet, his parents caught him staring into the distance, murmuring apologies to someone they couldn't see. Then, when he turned 5, the darkness arrived. One humid night, the stillness of the house was broken by screams. His parents rushed into his room and found him thrashing on the floor, clutching his chest as though invisible hands had pierced his body. Through sobs he cried, "They shot me in the chest. I died there." His words were so vivid, so raw, that his mother wept beside him. From that night forward, the nightmare returned, always the same, always ending with him gasping as though he could not breathe. When his father, desperate for answers, asked where this happened, the boy pointed unflinchingly toward the window, to the dark horizon beyond. He named a neighboring province miles away, a place he had never visited. Fearful but curious, his family decided to take him. They wanted to prove once and for all that it was just imagination. But when they arrived, their world shifted. The boy led them through the streets as though he had walked them 1,000 times, past shops, across bridges, until finally he stopped before a small weathered house. His tiny hands trembled, But he did not hesitate. He knocked on the door. An elderly woman answered. She looked at Channon, and her face drained of blood. Her lips quivered. Because years earlier her son had lived in that very house. His name was Fong, and he had died violently, murdered during a robbery, a single bullet through the chest. His killers were never caught. Channon, with the certainty of someone reliving a memory, described every detail of Fong's final moments. The street where it happened, the sound of footsteps rushing behind him, the pain as the bullet tore through him. And worse still, he described the men who had killed him, their faces, their clothes, their voices. The old woman fainted. That night, back in their hotel room, Channon broke down. He clutched his chest and sobbed uncontrollably, whispering, "Don't let them find me again. Don't let them finish what they started." His parents could not comfort him. He refused food. He refused water. His once bright laughter faded, and within weeks his small frame grew frail. It was as though the spirit of Fong, his own past self, was consuming him from the inside. Terrified, his family sought the help of a local monk. The monk listened quietly, then explained, "This child carries a heavy memory. He must learn to let go of what does not belong to him in this life, or it will destroy him." For days, rituals were performed. Incense filled the air, prayers were chanted, and sacred water was sprinkled over Channon as he wept in silence. Slowly, the nightmares began to fade. Eventually, he returned to some semblance of normal life. He went to school, played with friends, smiled again. But his parents admitted something chilling. Even years later, when Channon laughed or smiled, there was always a shadow in his eyes, a heaviness, as though someone far older was watching from behind them. And late at night, when his mother checked on him, she sometimes swore she heard him whisper in his sleep, "Don't let them find me." Story 2, The Woman in the Kimono. Our second story takes us to Tokyo, Japan. It surfaced in 2014, shared on a Japanese paranormal forum by a young office worker who wished to remain anonymous. She had just moved to a small apartment near Shinjuku, an area known for neon lights, crowded streets, and endless energy. But her new apartment was strangely different, darker, quieter. It clung to the edges of the city like a forgotten shadow. The rent was suspiciously cheap, but Tokyo is expensive, and she couldn't refuse. She convinced herself it was simply good luck. That illusion shattered the very first night. As she unpacked, she paused to look out her window at the glittering city below. In the glass, she caught something strange. A reflection? A woman? Dressed in a faded white kimono, hair hanging loose, face hidden, standing just all behind her. She spun around. The apartment was empty. She laughed it off nervously. Perhaps she was tired. Perhaps the city lights were playing tricks. But in Japan, seeing a figure dressed in white is rarely dismissed so easily, because white is the color of death. Funeral robes, burial kimonos. Still, she said nothing. Days passed. Then the disturbances began. Every night, she woke at exactly 3:11 a.m., not 3:10, not 3:12, always 3:11. At first, she thought it was coincidence, but as the night stretched on, it became impossible to ignore. And with the waking came the sounds. At first, silence. Then, a shuffle, bare feet sliding softly across tatami mats, slow, uneven, followed by a dragging sound, as though fabric or something heavy was being pulled across the floor. And then the breathing, low, wet, coming from just outside her bedroom door. She lay frozen, too terrified to move, too terrified even to breathe. The next morning, she confronted her landlord. She asked carefully, "Has anyone died here?" His expression hardened. He refused to answer, brushing her off with a quick excuse about paperwork. But later that day, a neighbor approached her quietly, almost whispering. The neighbor said, "The last tenant was a woman. She killed herself. They say she was cursed. Something from a past life followed her here." The young worker's blood ran cold. The haunting grew worse. One evening, returning from work, she unlocked her door and froze. Her closet door was wide open. Inside hung a single kimono. She had never seen it before. It was pale, moth-eaten, its fabric smelling of mildew and stale incense. She slammed the door shut, but when she checked again moments later, the kimono was gone. That night, she dreamed. She dreamed of water, a river at night, its current pulling fast and cold. She felt the panic of drowning, lungs screaming for air, hands pressing against her shoulders, shoving her down beneath the surface. And through the blur of water, she saw a woman's face, screaming as she too was dragged under. She woke, gasping, clawing at her throat, her sheets drenched in sweat. And at the foot of her bed, she saw her. The woman in the kimono, soaked, dripping water onto the tatami floor, hair matted across her face, silent, watching. The witness said she couldn't move, couldn't scream. She simply shut her eyes tight. And when she opened them again, the figure was gone. She left the apartment the next morning. She didn't even pack everything. She just fled. Weeks later, she discovered something chilling. She had thought her dream was just a nightmare, but when she researched the area, she learned its history. Centuries ago, during the Edo period, this district was known for executions. Criminals and the accused were brought to the river. Many women, wives, servants, accused witches, were drowned as punishment, dragged beneath the water until the bubbles stopped. And the woman in the kimono, her appearance matched Yurei, a Japanese spirit bound by rage, sorrow, or unfinished karma, always in white, always restless. To this day, the young worker wonders, was she haunted by the spirit of the last tenant, or was she glimpsing something much older, a karmic punishment, a violent past life bleeding into her present? And the question that unsettled her most, was the drowned woman someone else entirely, or was it herself? In both of these stories, one theme rises again and again, the past refusing to stay buried. In Thailand, a child carried the scars of a violent death he should never have remembered. The nightmares, the knowledge of a place he had never been, the terror of being found again, all signs of a spirit unable to break free from its past life. In Japan, a young woman became the vessel for a much older sorrow, an execution, a punishment, perhaps a karmic weight that was never lifted. The drowned woman in her dreams was not simply a ghost, but a reminder of suffering carried forward, replaying endlessly through those who stepped into that cursed space. In Asian folklore, this is not unusual. Many cultures believe that when death comes violently or unjustly, the soul lingers. It carries bitterness, anger, unfinished karma. It may return in another life or attach itself to the living seeking release. There is also a darker lesson. Sins are not always our own. They can belong to ancestors, to past lives, to the land itself. They cling to families, bloodlines, and even buildings until rituals, prayers, or forgiveness sets them free. Skeptics may argue that what we see in these accounts are coincidences, children overhearing stories, adults succumbing to dreams and stress. But believers know karma does not forget. It does not forgive. When the balance demands payment, there is no hiding from it. Not in this life, not in the next. So, what do you think really happened? Were these hauntings nothing more than echoes of trauma, psychological scars passed down through stories and memory? Or were they proof that the sins of our past lives cling to us, waiting for their moment to return? I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts below and tell us the city or country you're watching from. And if you made it this far, thank you. Thank you for watching Voices of Fear. Every week, we bring you chilling encounters and terrifying truths from across the globe. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and join us for the next descent into the unknown. But before you go, remember this. When you wake in the night to footsteps you cannot explain, when you feel a weight pressing on your chest or hear a voice whispering your name, not every ghost comes from outside. Sometimes the ghosts that follow you are your own.